Masechet Sanhedrin Daf Nun Tes Amud Aleph. In the two dots, we are in Daf Nun Tes Amud Aleph. That's over here, Masechet Sanhedrin, and let's go. We were talking about Ever Min HaChai, the prohibition of eating the limb of an animal, from the flesh of the animal that is not yet dead, or that was taken from the animal while the animal is not yet dead. Tanu Rabbanon. To Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel, let's start from the two dots. Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel Av Adam Min HaChai. Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel believes that besides the prohibition of Ever Min HaChai, if anybody extracts blood from an animal that is still alive and drinks that kind of blood, like some tribal people do, that is the Isser of Ever Min HaChai, meaning Dam Min HaChai. Besides the actual prohibition of drinking blood in any shape or form of animals, of mammals, I would say, so too there's an additional Isser of drinking the blood while the animal is alive. Besides the actual Isser of Dam, we're Daf Nun Tes Amud Aleph. For those that just joined us, Daf Nun Tes Amud Aleph in the two dots. Welcome back to all the vacationers, all those who went on holiday. Now they're coming back to a different kind of holiday. And Tan Rabbanon. Ach boso benafshoy domoy lo tochelu. When Hashem spoke to Noach after the Mabul, it says boso benafshoy domoy lo tochelu. Boso benafshoy means what? The boster, the flesh, while the animal is still benafshoy, well, the animal is still alive. But then it also says damoy. It says also don't drink the blood. So ze ever min hachai. Tanakama says, we're going to see a machlokes now, two opinions. Tanakama says Ever Min HaChai, there's no additional prohibition on the blood. No, if you drink the blood or have the flesh, it's all the same. There's no additional prohibition on the blood. No, there's no Isur Dam Min HaChai. Right? In other words, if you drink the blood of a live animal, then it's just a problem of drinking blood, nothing to do with the fact whether it's dead or alive. That's the Nakam. However, although the pasuk does mention blood, and we're going to have to explain that very soon. Rabbi Chanina, on the other hand, Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel, Af Adam Min HaChai, he says no, also Dam Min HaChai. Dam Min HaChai is, yes, there is a special prohibition of drinking the blood of an animal while it's alive, was taken from a live animal. My time with Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel. What's Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel's reason? Well, simple. Kari Bey, what's Kari Bey? He's reading into the pasuk. He's interpreting the pasuk to be saying, simple. Basar benafsho lo toichal. When the Torah says lo toichal, don't eat, and the Torah is referring to both flesh and blood, the prohibition applies to both. There's one prohibition on the basar, on the flesh, on the flesh, and there's another one on the dam of the animal that is still alive. Or again, I keep saying still alive, you know what I mean. I don't care if the animal is dead by now. It was taken from an animal while it was alive. That's a problem. It could be the animal died and he actually kept the blood in some kind of, lab. Doesn't make a difference, right? The problem is it was taken while it was alive. That, according to Rabbi Gamliel, there's a special Isser on the dam, and that seems to be the simple reading of the pasuk. However, Rabbanon, so how would Rabbanon explain this pasuk? Because they don't believe there's anything to do with the blood of the live animal, no special Isser. So how will they explain the pasuk? That pasuk is coming to tell me something completely different. As we explained before, and as Rabbi Ari will tell you tomorrow, it's coming to allow the shrotzim, again, shrotzim, not for Jewish people, but lemisha shrotzim, to allow the shrotzim hu de oso. The mentioning of blood is there to tell you that for goyim, or even for Jews actually, if one has a sheretz, again, sheretz meaning what? Sheretz is a rodent, sheretz is a reptile, sheretz could be an amphibian, all these like smaller animals, not mammals, So those animals called shrotzim, if you have Ever Min HaChai, like some people in certain parts of the world that actually, I saw this horrific video, I'd actually eat the entire little octopus in the mouth, and it's like, the guy's tongue is like fighting with the octopus. It was like horrendous. I couldn't sleep after that. He was absolutely nuts. Or snakes. It was like unbelievable. I hope it was Photoshopped, but I don't think so. So then, as horrible as it is, there is no prohibition of Ever Min HaChai when it comes to shrotzim. There's no prohibition of Ever Min HaChai. It's not a nice thing to do, and for us anyhow it's also, but there's no prohibition as for Ever Min HaChai per se. What does that have to do with blood? the mentioning of blood defines to you what kind of animal should Ever Mincha apply to. Again, what does that have to do with blood, though? As we explained a few days ago, a few videos ago, we said what? That the prohibition of blood does not apply to shrotzim. Meaning, let's say a Jewish person is about to drink the blood of a frog. He thinks it's a very cool thing to do. And you are a good aid, you and your friend are the aidim, so you give him the asro, the warning. Says Rashi in the next page, he says, if you give him the wrong kind of warning, you tell him, you're going to drink blood, it's an Isser drinking blood. You're wrong. You're wrong, he's not going to get malchus, because you're not giving him the right warning. There's no prohibition of blood per se. Is it allowed? No, it's not allowed. But the prohibition is eating shrotzim. You're not allowed to eat shrotzim, flesh and blood. There's no prohibition of the blood of the shrotzim. Another huge nafkamina, to the best of my understanding, is chorus. When you eat blood, sometimes, we're going to see later the qualifications, blood is an Isser chorus. Yeah, blood and chaylev, those kinds of fat chaylev, is the most chomer de keser. They have kosher and mahadrin meat, but it wasn't yet, the melicha wasn't yet done. It's much worse than eating chazir, as opposed to common belief. So here too, when it comes to shrotzim, there's no prohibition of the blood. There is a prohibition of eating sheretz, not nice. There are many prohibitions, but there's no Isser chorus of eating the blood. Therefore, let's recap. Therefore, if one really has the Eiver Min HaChai from something whose blood is a separate Isser, then the Isser Eiver Min HaChai applies. That's our Rabbanan are learning the pasuk. You get it? But there's no prohibition on the blood of Eiver Min HaChai. The word blood is mentioned as a sign, as a standard, telling you a definition what kind of Eiver Min HaChai, the flesh of which animal does Eiver Min HaChai apply to. Okay? But there's no actual prohibition on the blood. The blood is only there as a symbol, as the way to recognize, symbol of recognition to know what kind of animal we're talking about. That's our Rabbanan explain. Happy? Yes, question?
Really good question.
Question from Jason.
Yes. You know, there are certain kosher grasshoppers.
Yes.
So
Their blood of the kosher grasshoppers is also allowed.
So you're allowed.
So you're allowed to drink the blood of the fish, maybe lo teshaktu, but conceptually you're allowed to have the blood of fish or the blood of the kosher grasshoppers, the Yemenites or some Moroccans. They know.
Can you just pop, if the thing's alive, if somebody can just pop it in their mouth, it's kosher grasshopper?
Yes. You can have the blood also. You have to make sure that next to it is when you drink the blood. If you want to drink a whole cup of blood of fish, if you think that's nice, maybe it's healthy, then make sure there's some fish scales, fins and scales next to it, so there's no marisain. Right. Remember when the soy sauce just came out, there was a shiloh of marisain, so they said keep the packet next to it, or so it's Shulchan Aruch. I mean, not about soy, but Shulchan Aruch talks about similar things. Okay, am I answering your question?
The question was
what's your question?
The question was whether it's alive.
I'm answering before the question.
Can you get?
Yes, you can eat it alive. Do you eat it alive? Yeah, alive. You mean they pop them in the mouth and they die in 1 second.
Right.
It's not like octopus. You crunch them with their teeth. I mean, not that I do it, but if you crunch it with your teeth, it's not different than killing the fish. Okay. Yeah. My friend told me he's shver, big Talmud Chacham. He's shver in England. When they used to live in Morocco as young boys, they used to chop grasshoppers in the field, and they knew which ones are kosher, and they would pop them. As far as is it? Maybe. I don't know. And then, don't try it at home if you're Ashkenazi. Okay.
Can you have a cup of coffee with it?
Okay. And this happy note will continue. I didn't have my coffee today, actually. Speaking of coffee. V'Rabbanon, good chodesh. That's why it's Rosh Chodesh. Okay. Okay. K'yoytze b'dover ha'toimer. Similar machlokas, similar to that. The similar machlokas in a different venue. Another place where Eiver Min Chai is mentioned is much later in Dvarim, Deuteronomy, right? That's what we're supposed to say in the video. Yeah, in Deuteronomy 13, in Dvarim Yud Gimel, we have another prohibition of what? Of Eiver Min Chai. And there it says, Rak chazak lebilti yachol hadam. Okay, clearly, that's about eating the blood. Ki hadam hu hanefesh. And then it says, Lo tachal hanefesh im haboso. Okay? Don't eat the nefesh, and we say nefesh is what? Is the blood. We explained why already before. Nefesh, the blood, is the highest form of physical substance in the human body. It's called nefesh. Rak chazak, be strong, lebilti yachol hadam. Don't eat the blood. Let's read the parentheses. Usually we don't, but we will read the parentheses now because Rashi is pro those parentheses. Rak chazak l'biti yachol dam ze Eiver Min HaChai, ki adam hu hanefesh the dam min HaChai. Again, the same idea of Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel. He's learning the pasuk that the pasuk is talking about flesh and blood and your absolute tzaddik. Here online we have an absolutely saintly Jew with the name of Baruch Reins who can read my lips. Read my lips. Thank you very much. And sorry to interrupt you. This is a commercial in the middle of the show.
Amen.
Okay, so now let's continue. Commercial over. This is the same understanding of Reb Chanan ben Gamliel. Flesh is also minachai. Dam minachai is also very simple. V'Rabbanon. How would Rabbanan explain that pasuk over there that he's telling you lo techel hanefesh im haboso? Here comes a very, very, very important piece of halacha lemaisa. How would Rabbanan explain this pasuk? Hahu, that pasuk ledam hakaza shaneshama yoytza boyhu de'asa. You know the pasuk over there is talking to me about hanefesh im haboso, the nefesh, which I think is blood with the basar. It's not telling me anything about dam minachai. It's defining something else, not every minachai at all. It's defining to me now what kind of blood is osir midoraisa. Hanefesh im haboso. There's a big sugya in Krisus, which we won't enter right now, but conceptually, the isser of having blood, which is an isser with a chiyuv kores, is only the blood shaneshama yoytze boy. As the pasuk says, what? Hanefesh im haboso, meaning when they shecht the cow, I saw in Spain when there was kosher mahad and shchita, there's a lot of blood that comes out. There's like the animal doesn't suffer. It takes like a quarter of a second because of a very, very good shochet. You couldn't see the shchita happening. It was very, very, very quick. It was almost like a snipe. I think like in half a second the thing was gone. But then the blood starts gushing out. So the first gush of water, when it starts really flowing and flowing and flowing, Mechlokas Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish increases up to what point is that dam considered prohibited. But after the dripping stops, and you have a bit of drops dripping, not dripping, excuse me, after the flowing, the first squirt or the first gush, when that's over and there's blood dripping, then already it's a question whether it's usher or not. Most probably not usher to eat anymore midoraisa, or at least there's no chiyuv chorus. All the more so, people should know, I'm not chalila coming to be meikal, but let's say you bought some non-koshered, not non-kosher, non-koshered flesh, meaning that the blood wasn't taken out, yeah? In some places they sell that, like in Me'asharim, there's a place, people who definitely want to do the malicha at home. So then if you buy that, if chalila, you ate the blood, not recommendable, chalila, but it's not an Isser Kares. Because that's not the blood that gushed out. It's not called neshama yoytzaboy. It's not the blood that came out while the animal's soul, so to speak, nefesh came out. Okay, people don't know that. So again, I'm not being mekel, I'm just telling you a fact, and that's what Rabbanan is saying here. That's halacha. Again, there's nothing to do with dam min hachai. That's what Reb Chanan ben Gamliel, and we don't pass that way. For the interested, we don't pass Reb Chanan ben Gamliel. There is no prohibition of dam min hachai. If you drink dam min hachai, you're just drinking blood, which is a terrible isser. Yeah, there's no isser of dam min hachai per se. That's how we pass it. And this pasuk over there is just telling me what kind of blood is asur, the blood that shaneshama yoytzaboy, hanefesh yoytzaboy, and not any later blood that drips down the neck later. That is already maybe asur, but not chorus, and some of the Rabbanon. There are different stages. Yes, good. Continue. Okay. Yes, Yosef,
what are
the returnee wants to ask the question. What are you asking, Yosef? Yes.
What is the benefit of drinking the blood?
What is the benefit of drinking the blood? There's no benefit in it whatsoever. So and it says, Rak chazak lebilti chol adam. So Rashi says, be strong and don't eat the blood. What do you mean be strong and don't eat the blood? It's disgusting. Although in certain nations in the world, I want to be very politically correct, but certain people, they love blood sausages. In Europe, there are places where blood sausage is considered as a delicacy. So I agree with you. However, there's a very beautiful Rashi that tells us, if when it comes to the blood, the Torah says, be strong, don't drink the blood, meaning that if you refrain from drinking the blood, you get amazing schar. Who wants it? And yet, for not drinking the blood, let's say your German friend, whatever, he offers you some blood, and you say, danke, aber nicht, I don't want that. So then what? So then you get schar. All the more so, says Rashi, gezel v'arayes, money and women that people do want, and you refrain from them. Imagine the amazing schar you're going to get for that. That's the message. Even for not drinking blood, you get schar. or the more is something you really desire and you refrain from, that's the message. Even from that, you'll get much more sachar. Okay? What's prohibited is prohibited. And as I told you, you were not here, my friend. In your continent, there are people, tribesmen, that before they go to war, they make a seizure cut in the cow's neck, and they drink a little bit of the blood straight from the cow, which is alive still, and then they go to war. So maybe you should tell them something. That makes them strong, maybe. I don't know if it's...
I haven't tried it yet.
No, in Johannesburg doesn't work? Okay. No. Okay, so let's continue at this point. Weiter. Now the Gemara is about to embark on something very interesting, and that is the repetition of Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach. It's time to summarize. Anyway, we only have about maybe one or more, 2 shiurim about B'nai Noach. And now it's time to remember, to recap, to summarize. What did we say? Hashem told Adam HaRishon all 7 mitzvahs B'nai Noach that are alluded to in a very fine way in the Torah. In one pasuk, all 7 are alluded to. Some people are learning it from Noach and from later sources, but they're all in Bereshis. Interesting that the Rambam says that the 6 mitzvahs were given to Adam, and every minachah was given to Noach. Every minachah is quite mefurash given to Noach, the pasuk we just saw now. That's how the Rambam is learning. I'm not sure why. He's saying the 6 mitzvahs are definitely from Adam HaRishon, and the 7th one, the every minachah, is one given to Noach. And yet we see that those mitzvahs, once we got the Torah in Sinai, with the Jewish people, we got the Torah, then all these 7 mitzvahs are also repeated in the Torah itself, from Shmois onward, right? Also repeated. And the Gemara is asking, why does the Torah have to repeat the same mitzvah twice? The assumption is that once we got the Torah, everything that we got as humankind, as a human race, we all got the mitzvahs. We'll ask Jewish people, it's not going to deduct from what we already have, right? The whole idea of the Torah was to elevate us even more. And yet the Torah repeats the same mitzvahs again. And the question is why? That's going to be the up-and-coming idea we're going to discuss now. So let's see. Yes, we're over here. Lama li. The line starts with Lama li here. I mean, the line ends with the words Lama li over here. Yeah.
The Torah repeats the mitzvahs not in Ritzuf. It doesn't. It's not like there's 7 mitzvahs. And by the way, we're going to also have the 7 mitzvahs over here. They're more elaborated on, or they're disguised within other categories. Correct. In other words,
Baruch is asking a question. I think what you're asking is that maybe the mitzvahs after Matan Torah are not written as a group. They're just scattered all over, and maybe there's more of explanation, more elaborated upon. You're in the right direction. Okay, good. You're in the right direction, so it's time to... there's a lot in what you're saying, so let's continue. Yeah, very good. Lama li l'michtav, fragt the Gemara, lama li l'michtav li b'nei Noach, v'lama li l'mishni b'Sinai. Why do you have to write it by b'nei Noach? At the beginning it's Bereshis and Noach, and again, l'mishni, what's l'mishni? To repeat b'Sinai. Why do you have to repeat it in Sinai? Answers the Gemara, Rabbi Yosef bar Chanina, following his opinion, Rabbi Yosef bar Chanina, Kol mitzvah shenemar li b'nei Noach. Listen carefully, because what we're going to read now sounds absurd, and we'll have to explain it. It sounds like the logic is twisted, so listen carefully. Kol mitzvah shenemar li b'nei Noach v'nishnes b'Sinai. Any mitzvah that was given to b'nei Noach and was repeated in Sinai, lazeh v'lazeh ne'emra. That those kind of mitzvahs repeated twice were given for both Jews and non-Jews alike. Okay. However, keep reading. Lebnei Noach v'loy nishnes b'Sinai. If there's a mitzvah that was given to b'nei Noach and it was not repeated in Sinai, and such mitzvahs also exist, l'Yisrael ne'emra v'lo lebnei Noach. Very interesting. Get it? In other words, if it was not repeated in Sinai, then it was given to Israel and not to Goy. I would say just the other way around. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's good if your eyebrows are shutting up. In other words, if it's repeated davka in Sinai, if it's not repeated, let's start from there. If it's not repeated in Sinai, there's like a new contract. They're renewing the contract. Landlord, renewing the contract. Hashem is the Lord of the world. He's renewing the contract in Sinai, and there are certain mitzvahs that he's not repeating. Then davka they gave it to Israel. Although Matan Torah we thought is exclusively Jewish, which apparently we're going to see is not. Matan Torah we thought is exclusively Jewish. So I would say no. If those mitzvahs like Gid Anosha, which we'll see now, does not repeat itself in Sinai, that means we're out of the loop, right? Because Hashem is talking to us. Yet the Torah says, no, just the other way around. The Gemara says just the other way around. Okay? So we're going to, the Gemara will discuss this interesting logic later, but right now the answer was given. The answer was given. What's the answer? All the mitzvahs that were repeated twice apply to both Goyim and non-Goyim alike. So you have to repeat it. If you don't repeat it, then it only applies to Jews. If it's not repeated in Sinai, only Jews. So you have to repeat. Why? We'll see soon. But that's the answer regarding why repetition is important. There's a new contract, and the new contract doesn't apply to everybody already. That okay? Now, the anu, us, practically speaking, ein lanu ela gid hanoshe v'aliba de Rabbi Yehuda omar v'aliba de Rabbi Yehuda omar v'aliba de Rabbi Yehuda full stop. Which means, practically speaking, well, what anu, us, practically on the table, which mitzvah is it that was given to Bnei Noach and was not repeated in Sinai and therefore does not apply to Goyim, does only apply to Jews? Gid Hanoshe. Gid Hanoshe is the sinew of the thigh. As we all know, the story of Jacob fighting with the angel. Yeah, I just said it yesterday night. You know why? Because when one goes to Chutz La'aretz, on Motzei Shabbos before you travel, you have to say Parshas Vayishlach. Yeah, sure. Oh, yeah, do that. From the beginning till the beginning of the bad news with Dina. Because Yaakov's traveling, and his travels and travails. Yeah, that's, So that is, you say that. Mishnah Berurah mentions that, by the way. Yeah, so I just learned it yesterday. I thought it's very appropriate for the shir. So Yaakov fought with the Malach, and then he touched him with Gid Hanoshe, etc. Al Kelo Yoichu v'chulei. Yaakov was halachically a Ben Noach. We said many times. He was the forefather of our nation, but by the cold halachic law, he was the Ben Noach. Now, what's Aliba de Rabbi Yehuda? Rabbi Yehuda believes that really that mitzvah was given right there and then for Yaakov and his descendants. Well, Yaakov and his descendants, not only to his descendants, to any Ben Noach. Yaakov was just a sample. He wasn't yet Ki'ilu part of the Jewish nation because that's before Sinai. So I would say all Goyim are not allowed to have Gid Hanoshe. Comes the Torah in Sinai, the contract is renewed. There's a mitzvah, there are whole new sets of mitzvahs of Sinai, and Gid Hanoshe is not there. Yeah, you can look, you can search high and low. You're not going to meet the mitzvah of Gid Hanoshe after Matan Torah. Therefore, Gid Hanoshe is allowed to Goyim and not allowed to Jews. Again, I know the logic sounds twisted, but that's the way it is. And therefore, there's a whole halacha. One's allowed to give a Goy in situations where you're allowed to give a matana to a Goy, whatever. That's a different story. So then you're allowed to give a Goy Gid Hanoshe because you're allowed to have a no. You're allowed to give a Goy a matana, a yerech with Gid Hanoshe inside of it. Yeah. So that's it. Goyim are allowed. Okay, that's enough kamina. But all the 7 mitzvahs that were mentioned do repeat themselves, and therefore, because they repeat themselves, mimela, then they apply to both people. By the way, what Baruch was saying before already applies to the question. The Gemara is asking, why did we repeat the mitzvah of Eiver Min HaChai? The Torah did not ask why did we repeat the mitzvahs of Arayas, of sexual relationships with relatives, why do we repeat of Edizara? Because there it's very clear, there's a lot of details that are here, it's not just a remez, and afterwards it's more or less the same. Yeah, you get your answer? Now, there's Eiver Min HaChai, you can't say, well, the Torah just wanted to elaborate and explain more, because there is no further explanation. Before Matan Torah and after Matan Torah, the Eiver Min HaChai, it's not repeating itself, but it's not giving them much more information. Therefore, must be the answer is, the repetition is only to tell us that this applies to Goyim as well. Okay? Amar Mar, now the Gemara will deal with this seemingly illogical idea, the Gemara will explain. Amar Mar, we're repeating what we said before in order to explain it. Amar Mar, great coffee by the way, thank you. Amar Mar, kol mitzvah shenemar libnei Noach. Any mitzvah that was given to Bnei Noach, back then, Venishnes b'Sinai, was repeated in Sinai, Lazeh v'Lazeh Nemra, was given now to both Jews and non-Jews alike. Frag the Gemara, Arabe, on the contrary, au contraire, Midenishnes b'Sinai, L'Yisrael Nemra v'lo libnei Noach, I would say the other way around, right? If it's repeating itself in Sinai, and Sinai was some kind of exclusive club, for us, Jewish people, to receive the ethics from Sinai, then maybe it's for Israel and not for Bnei Noach, right? Answers the Gemara, no, I'll prove to you that is not possible. Why? We see that Avodas Kechovim was given in Sinai. That's right. That's the second commandment, right? not to worship idols. And yet, we see that Goyim, post Matan Torah, Goyim were punished for it. The Torah says, you know why you should go to Eretz Yisrael, and you should eradicate, and you should deal with the Goyim who are there. Not all the Goyim, the idol worshippers. With the Chazar B'Tshuva 5. But the idol worshippers should be taken care of. Why? Because the Torah says, because of the Goyim doing all these abominations of both of the Zorah and immoral sexual relationship, because of these things, I chase away the Goyim out of the country. So you see what? You see the Goyim were punished. You can't punish unless you warn. Must be the warning in Sinai applied to Goyim as well. Shma Mina, from here we see Lezev Lezen Emra. So just to add a point, when Hashem spoke in Sinai, then the Gemara in Shabbos says that the voice was broken. There were 10 commandments. We know there were 10 commandments. Everybody knows that. Yeah, I never watched the movie in my life actually, but I did read it a few times in the Torah. So now the 10 commandments, each one was like broken into 70 different languages. The Goyim, the Kilo got the echo of it. Because those 10 things, even though not all of them apply to Goyim, like Shabbos doesn't apply to Goyim, but the concept of Matan Torah did shake the whole of humanity, and everyone was affected by Matan Torah, and therefore once the Torah repeated those 7 mitzvahs, which by the way most of them are in the Sesed Dibros, not all of them, then those things apply to Goyim as well. And that's why you need the repetition. It applies to both Goyim and Jews alike. Yeah, those who were repeated. Okay. But that doesn't deal with everything. We still have to deal with the other part of the Brisa. We have 2 dots and another quote of the second part of the Brisa. The Brisa says, Libnei Noach v'lo nishnes b'Sinai. That's even the weirder part. Something that was given to Bnei Noach and was not repeated in Sinai. L'Yisrael nemra v'lo Libnei Noach. Yeah, it was not repeated in Sinai. Then it only applies to Jews. Wow, anti-Jewish. It was not repeated in Sinai, Gita Noshe, so it only applies to Jews and not to Goyim. On the contrary, Mapitom. B'delon nishnes b'Sinai, Libnei Noach nemra v'lo Yisrael, which is just the other way around. If it's not repeating itself in Sinai, who got the renewal of the contract? We, not them. We got a new contract, a renewed contract, right? And those mitzvahs don't apply, so the terms and conditions of the previous contract don't apply to us anymore. And yet, the rest of humanity it applies to. So I would say, Gidonosha, Tim McKenzie and co. Yeah, I like Tim McKenzie very much. Yeah, no problem, Tim McKenzie. But what Tim McKenzie, he should not be able to eat Gidonosha, and I will eat Gidonosha. And I will eat all the nice, back part of the animals. Yeah, in the restaurant. Yeah, Ashkenazim's party, everyone can enjoy it. Well, why not? That seems to be the case. And says the Gemara, no, that is impossible. Why? Says the Gemara, the Torah is passing through, so we have to stand up. Leika midam de lisol shari. Leika, what's leika in Aramaic? There isn't. Leika midam. Midam is something. There isn't anything de lisol shari. Cannot be. No way, Jose. No way, Jose. Whether Jose is Jewish or not, I don't know. No way. You cannot have a situation in which something is allowed to Jews and not allowed to non-Jews. That is just against logic. Why? Says Rashi, the idea of Sinai was to be more committed, to be elevated even more. Hashem asked Ishmael and Esav, do you want the Torah? They didn't want. We chose to be more elevated and accept upon ourselves more things. It just doesn't make sense to say that we got less stuff than the Goyim. That just won't happen. And therefore, out of 3 choices, says Rashi just makes this, ticking off thing. In other words, if the Torah repeats itself, it repeats itself for a reason, right? So now, if it doesn't repeat, it's also for a reason. There is a reason why the Torah didn't repeat itself. So to tell me that it applies to both Jews and Goyim alike doesn't make sense. Because there is some kind of, discordance over here, right? Whether it's, in other words, if the Torah Dafka chose not to repeat it, it just does the same old thing. Something new happened. Some people are involved, some are not. So now, out of 2 choices, whether it does apply to Jews and not to Goyim, or to Goyim and not to Jews, logically, Lo Shayach cannot be that it applies to Goyim and does not apply to Jews. So by default, as illogical as it sounds, it is really logical when you cross off the different options. The only logical option you remain with is that it's a new contract. Not everyone, the contract doesn't apply to everyone. There's a change, and since the default option is that we Jews got more mitzvahs, Mimela, we got more mitzvahs, and those mitzvahs such as Gid and Oshe apply to us and don't apply to the Goyim. Okay? So logic is not always face value, you have to go a little bit deeper. Okay, so let's get an Osha. Frek the Gemara is right now attacking, is that so? Veloy, we are nun test Amud Aleph Sanhedrin, we are 5 lines from the bottom of the page. Veloy, are you sure? Are you sure that really anything that applies to Jews apply to Goyim cannot, and you can never ever have a situation in which something is allowed to a Jew and not allowed to a non-Jew? Is that so? V'harei, Yefas Toya, when a Jewish soldier goes to war in times of Torah, it's a Milchemes or a Reshus, and it's all done under Beis Din or a Melech with etc. And it's Milchemes or a Reshus. It's a war which is not a mitzvah, but the Torah allows you to go to war to conquer a nation that is adjacent to Israel in order to annex it to the Holy Land, to Eretz Israel. Then, if he meets a beautiful woman, it doesn't have to be beautiful in his eyes, so he's allowed to have relations with her, he's allowed to take her to his house, although there's many humanistic conditions there, but he's allowed. And Begoim, whenever found such a thing, a guy is not allowed to take a married Yefas Toyer. A Jew is allowed to take the married Yefas Toyer, married to a guy, under those circumstances. By the way, don't have too much mercy on them, because it says, why Yefas Toyer? What are women doing at war? They would have to send beautiful women dressed in nice clothes, if you remember the Rashi and the Parsha, dressed up nicely, made up nicely, to be around the soldiers to seduce them. Which is also done today in other warfare. You know, spies, they use women spies to, I read about the Mossad, they do this on purpose, you know, they do these things. They use women to seduce people, and then they get secrets, or they get them for the night out of the way. So these things were done always. They used women. It's actually very anti-feministic what they were doing. Yeah, they use the women as, you know, objectifying them. So that the soldier, what can do? He's already tempted. You know, the Baalei Musar say it has to do with the Gemara. How does the Torah allow such an ugly thing? You go to her. The Torah says, and it's a very beautiful thing. The whole concept of nisayon is you don't have to be in that area b'chlal. In other words, if the Torah tells you don't have relations with a married woman, that means you have to stay very, very far from any option b'chlal of being, near such a concept. But once the Torah is allowing you to be near that beautiful woman, the Torah is no tightness against you. If the Torah allows you to go to that war zone times 2, Mimela, the Torah doesn't have tightness against you. What can you do? The Torah allowed you to be in that place where there are beautiful women hanging around. So Mimela, there's no chance. Mimela, the Torah says, okay, do it already. That shows us how, out of that situation, we should stay away from Avera, far, far from that. So in any event, the guy is not allowed to have Yefas Torah, and the Jew is allowed to have Yefas Torah. No, that's against your formula. The Gemara is attacking. And says the Gemara, a beautiful answer, no. Hasam over there, now you'll see what I said is relevant. Hasam mishum delav bnei kibush ninhu. This is a very, very left-wing sentence. This is, now we have to take the flowers and be very Californian. The goyim alav b'nei kibush. What's kibush? Daila kibush. You know Daila kibush? Yeah, you are familiar. Goyim are allowed to conquer each other, which means if the Spaniards, Spaniards could be very nice people, but the Spaniards going to South America and quite cruelly conquering the Gansa South America, it's not the right thing to do. By the Jews, we're allowed to conquer, and only for the purpose of extending the Kedusha of Eretz Israel. If we're allowed to conquer Mimela, we're also allowed in Yefas Toyer. Since the guy is not allowed to conquer Yena's country, the country of the other one, Mimela, who told you to be in that war b'chlal? The same idea as we said before. So it's not like we are allowed in Yefas Toyer, they're not allowed. The whole thing never began to apply to them because they would never be in that situation halachically to begin with. If a Jew and a guy would be in a similar situation with Yefas Toyer, we don't expect Tim McKenzie to be holier than Moshe Uncle. No. Hello, Tim McKenzie or Juan Rodriguez, they're not supposed to be in the kibush. Not the whole reason. You have no reason, Mr. Gentile, to be next to that married woman. You have no answer. I want to conquer the land. Who told you allowed to conquer the land? Who told you allowed to conquer someone else's land? Yeah? What about the Americans and the Mexicans? New Mexico, California. Weiter, yeah.
Yefas Torah applies to both Melchama and Reshus.
Rashi says, "Melchemes or Reshus, Takos of Medaber." It could be it's a discussion. I'm a simple Jew. I know Chumash Rashi a little bit, and the Rashi says that I do know. Melchemes or Reshus, Takos of Medaber. So all this also applies to Melchemes Mitzvah. I'm not sure. L'chor, yes, according to the logic I said, but I don't remember 1,000,000%, so I don't want to say it. Okay, what I don't know, I don't know. Another question, another claim against what we said before. Remember, again, it's a very good time to recap the whole business. What about if somebody stole something from his friend that is less, that is worth less than a pruta. Pruta is like the minimal, halachically, excuse me, I think it's even less than 1 shekel. I'm not sure how much it is today. But shve pruta is not a large amount of money. It's basically the minimum value, market value, halachically, of any item. So pachos mishve pruta. Pachos mishve pruta was said by a goy. He's not allowed to steal less than shve pruta from another non-Jew. A Jew is not allowed to, but a Jew, if he did it, there is whatever, he doesn't return it. You know, it's less than shve pruta, it's a very small amount. So you see a goy is more chomer than a Jew. Again, so not like we said. And says Gemara, no, there's another reason. The assumption is that not every person in the world is so nice and so accepting and welcoming and so mevater, so how to say forgoes his rights. And therefore, if Tim McKenzie entered the store of Chris O'Malley and he takes something less than shve pruta, who says that O'Malley is giving him a chila? Most probably not. So don't touch his stuff, not even less than shve pruta. But the Jews, we assume that us, the Yidden, we hope, are more bali rachmim, or more, more merachim. Since more merachim, the assumption is more mevater, merachim. We already teach the children in Yezra 3. Mevater, the one who's mevateret, she's, the queen of the show. Oh, nice, so mevater. So into the mevater mentality, the assumption is that less than shve pruta, the person is moichel. And if you know that your friend is a big captain, maybe it's a different question. I don't know. But the assumption is that this is a difference between some people and others, and it's just a technical thing. It's not really that the guy is not allowed be'etzem, something that Jew is allowed. That's not the truth. The assumption is that the approaches are different from the side of the owner. That's the assumption. Okay, continue, but on the same venue, on the same idea. Nuntes Amud Aleph, turning to Nuntes Amud Beis. We are turning the page. Now comes the Gemara with a radical question. The most Jewish mitzvah is what? Bris Milah. And look what happens. Wow. The Milah was given to Bnei Noach. As much as we think that Avraham Avinu, and yes, he was the father of our nation, and the Milah made him Jewish, well, he was a Bnei Noach, halachically. And it says, Hashem tells Avraham Avinu, you have New Testament base on the top, Avraham Avinu, you should guard my bris, and it means bris milah, circumcision. Venishnes b'Sinai. Yesterday we read it in the parsha. Look how lucky we are. We have the Tersh B'chtav, Tersh B'alpeh together. Yesterday we read the pasuk at the beginning of the parsha. B'yom hashmini yimol. So you see what? Well, bris milah was given before Matan Torah, way before, and after Matan Torah. Well, so by your rules, then it should apply to Goyim as well. Every time they can harry, everyone should do bris milah. Now, don't tell me Muslims and the royal family of England and the people in America. If they want to, they can. There's no chiyuv. It's not halachic chiyuv for a goy to have bris milah. Why not? If it repeats itself, they should be chayev. Wow. Milah. Answers the Gemara. No. So, Yisrael Nemra, v'lo b'nei Noach. And you see it's for Yisrael, not for b'nei Noach. Obviously. So why? Answers the Gemara. No. And that's similar to what Baruch was saying before. The answer comes, Hahu lemisha Shabbesu de'osor. V'yom v'afilu b'Shabbos. Which means, there, the Torah is not repeating itself, the Torah is adding a detail, and that's the only reason when the Torah mentions it. The Torah is telling us, B'yom hashmini mol b'tar losoi, B'yom hashmini v'afilu b'Shabbos. Yeah, in other words, and that's halacha. If the milah is on time, if the milah was postponed, we know it's not. Or if the milah was done by cesarean, also not on Shabbos, right? Because it wasn't born the natural way. We learn all these halachas from this pasuk. So it's not like the Torah just repeated itself twice. The Torah gives you a whole bunch of new information about Shabbos, and that's why it's there. And that's why it's not called repetition. It's not called repetition. Memela, it doesn't apply to Goyim. Frag the Gemara, V'arei pirya v'rivya, shenemra livnei Noach, pru revu. Yeah, be fruitful and multiply. Yeah, a lot of Christians also try to be Mekayim it. And it says, D'chtiv, V'atem pru revu. Yeah, should be fruitful and multiply. By the way, revu doesn't only mean multiply. I'm already talking Oxtrolese over here. But really, Revu doesn't just mean to have many children, also. Revu also means, Lerabot is to raise. When you have children, make sure you have the ways, you have the means, spiritually, mentally, and possibly financially, to raise them. Don't just have, 20 children and don't have idea, half of them are hanging around the streets not knowing what they're doing, and you don't know what they're doing. So I'm not saying this, by the way. This is the Mefarshim in Bereshis. I don't remember which one. I saw it in Bereshis. So basically, Puvu was given to Adam v'Chava, and later to Noach also. V'nishnas b'Sinai, and it's repeating itself again in Sinai in a way which is a bit more like elusive. It says after Mamash right after Matan Torah. You remember that all the Yidden before Matan Torah were forbidden from being with the wives for 3 days. Because Shich Vazera, also again Shabbos. So for 3 days they were separate. 3 days before Matan Torah they were separate. Okay, very nice. So Machlok is 3 days, 2 days. Begadol, 3 days they were separate, and then it says right after Matan Torah, Lech emo lehem, go tell them, Shuva lachem le'oh lechem, go back to your tents. To your tents means to your wives, and it says right after Matan Torah, each and every, they all had relations, and each one was misaber with a ben zachar. They all had male children 9 months later. Yeah, after Matan Torah, it was like a whole new creation, whole new bria. So in any event, so then you see that Purvu was renewed, no, and yet Lisol Ne'emar V'lo L'bnei Noach. The mitzvah of Purvu does not apply to Goyim. There's another mitzvah called the Rabbanon from the Navi called Shevis. Lo tohu b'ro l'shevis yitzoro. It's like a pasuk which alludes to the fact Lo tohu b'ro. Hashem did not create the world for tohu to be void, like tohu v'vo. L'shevis yitzoro. Hashem created the world to be populated. Against the philosophy of some people today, they say, no, the animals are more important than us, we're trespassers, we shouldn't even be here, b'chlal. So no, the Torah says the world should be full of people. That mitzvah applies to Goyim as well. But the real mitzvah, Puravu, having a boy and a girl, and they should have a boy and a girl, the whole story doesn't apply to Goyim. Why? Why doesn't it apply to Goyim? It did repeat itself after Matan Torah, so the Chorah should apply to Goyim as well, and it doesn't. Why? And says the Gemara, no, that pasuk also is, you're off the track, says the Gemara. The pasuk is not saying that. The pasuk is telling me another idea, and that is, that's saying something else. Lekol dovash b'minyan tzorich minyan achel la'atiro yehuda osa. Which means, dovash b'minyan means, minyan doesn't only mean a quorum of 10 men for davening. Minyan means a gathering of people. Dovash b'minyan means, in this context, dovash b'minyan means, let's say the decision of Beis Din. Let's say Beis Din decided, in the good old days when we had a good working Beis Din decided to see something weak happening in the Klal Yisrael and feel the need to strengthen it, and they make a gzera on the tzibur, davar shebaminyan, and they decide that for the next month they see there's a lot of problems. Let's say in the summer, in the month of Av, they say in the month of Av everyone should do something or refrain from doing something. I don't want to go into examples here. For this month, the Beis Din are Gadol in Yerushalayim, and everyone accepts them. For the month of Av, the Gans Klal Yisrael shouldn't. There's many car accidents. People shouldn't. Drive past a certain hour. Don't drive in a certain situation. Okay, Yofi. And then they said only for the month of Av, right? In Elul, you go back to yeshiva, everything is good. So, tzorich minyan achel ha'tiroi. You can't just take the wheel again and do and assume that the Gzera was just dismantled, just disappeared, evaporated at Elul, even though it sounds like that. You need another seating of Beis Din, or another Beis Din as important to untie that Gzera. And that is what we learn from there. Once Moshe Rabbeinu told them on behalf of Hashem, stay away, wife and husband, stay away from each other for 3 days. I was okay, Matan Torah, we're holy, we're not looking at each other, Well, after Matan Torah, automatically I would say, I'm going back to my wife. Now, says the Torah, no, you need Moshe Rabbeinu to tell you again that it's allowed. Don't just assume it, you need another new Gzera of Beis Din, and that's what we're learning from that pasuk. So although the pasuk had to do Piri V'Rivya is not this story there. It's just an example for the concept of Davar Shebaminyan back and forth. Get it? And therefore it's not called a repetition. Since it's not called a repetition, Mimela by default, then Puravu was really mentioned only once or twice before Matan Torah. It applies to Jews, doesn't apply to Goyim. Okay? So, Goyim may have as many children, of course, as they want, but there's no mitzvah of having a boy and a girl. If Tim and Belinda may want to have one nice child, one child is fine. Okay, Sheves, I guess one is enough for Sheves. That applies to Eved. You know the story in the Gemara a few times. The Torah repeats the story, not the story, the theoretical story of an Eved that is half an Eved, half a Ben Choyrin, right? You had 2 people, let's say Reuven and Shimon, they bought an Eved together. The Eved belonged now, one of them freed him and the other one didn't. So he's half slave and half Ben Choyrin. So financially that works out, but halachically, misken, he can't marry anybody. He can't marry a free woman because that's lo tekdesha. He can't marry a shifcha because he's half Jewish. So then, in such a situation, he can't have kids. Because of that, Beis Shammai told Beis Hillel, Tikantem Israbis, Atzma lo Tikantem, the poor man can't have children. And his one half is Chai Pirurivia, the other half is Chai Sheves. It says two chiyuvim, he also has a chiyuv of Sheves. Because of that, so we force his master to free him. Yeah, we act as if we're Abraham Lincoln, not the... We force him to free the Eved, free your slave, and let the slave marry a nice Jewish girl. In order to be Mekayim, Pirurivia, or even his original situation, he would have the chiyuv of Sheves, even as an Eved. Okay, continue, because women don't have the chiyuv of Pirurivia. So even though an Eved is like a woman, women don't have the chiyuv of Pirurivia. It's nice, it's good, but they don't have the chiyuv as a person to become Pirurivia. Yeah? It's a mitzvah for the man to marry the woman, not the other way around. Ihochi. Frag the Gemara now, the obvious question, and I think, well, we still have more time. Ihochi. What are you really doing here? Every time I'm telling you, the Gemara is like, I'm reading into the words of the Gemara, every time I'm telling you there's a repetition and giving me an excuse why it's not a repetition. It's really not about Pirurivia, it's about Beis Din, it's really not about Bris Milah, it's about Shabbos and Bris Milah. Ihachi, Kol Chada V'Chada Naminema, Mishum Milsa Isni. If so, the 7 mitzvahs, they repeated themselves later on, I can also tell you they were added for some detail, right? Like we said before. Let's talk about Avodah Zarah, right? Avodah Zarah, the Torah told Adam Rishon, don't worship Avodah Zarah. Later, when there's a repetition, it says, don't worship Avodah Zarah. This way, that way, like the Goyim, like that. And if you do, then it's an Isra Koris and Skila. Well, maybe it's only for the details, so maybe it's not called repetition. The same logic will apply to the 7 real ones. No? Answers the Gemara, no. Hachi Kobar. This is what we say. Azhara mihador mitnabo lamali. That's the idea. The azhara, the warning. We know there's always warning and a punishment. The warning is always repetitious. Adam Rishon about Avodah Zarah, and then the Torah after Matan Torah should have told me the oynesh. If you worshipped Avodah Zarah this and that way, then you get the punishment. But the actual azhara, which is always a separate unit, is repetitious. If you're back into azhara, and then you have the details and the oynesh, azhara is per se is a repetition of the first case, and that is why, that's why it's considered as repetitious, and it applies to Goyim as well. While the mitzvah of Milah, there's no repetition of Milah. It's only by Yom Hashmini. It doesn't even talk about Milah, by the way, right? It says a woman becomes Thomas 7 days, 14 days for a girl, and part of that whole story, it says if it's Shabbos, then he gets Bris Milah. But anyway, it's not an Isser, it's a mitzvah to say. And the other one about Pru'urvu, also, it's not a repetition. It's just talking you something, go back to your tent. Go back to your tent, and what? And the Gzera made is not repeating itself. It doesn't apply. But Sheikh and all these 70 Surim, there is a repetition of the same thing later, vis-a-vis the Azhar itself. The warning is the same, and therefore it's called repetitious, and therefore it does apply to Goyim as well. In fact, the Gemara, so what did we say? We said the only case of what? Of Gida Nosha, the only case that doesn't repeat itself, we said, and therefore does not apply to Goyim, is Gida Nosha. That's what we said in Amud Aleph. The only mitzvah that, from the pre-Matan Torah, the only pre-Matan Torah mitzvah that Goyim don't have, and we do, is Gida Nosha. That's not true. Hani nami lo itni. These two also are not itni. Bris Milah and Pru'urvu are also not repeated themselves. You just told me. So why you say only Gida Nosha? It's not only Gida Nosha, and it's true. Bris Milah also doesn't apply to Goyim. Pru'urvu doesn't apply to Goyim as well. So why are you saying only Gida Nosha? Answers the Gemara, Hani itni l'shumil sebe'alma. Those mitzvahs were repeated for a certain detail. Like Beis Din, like Milah on Shabbos. Ha lo itni klal. The Gida Nosha is not mentioned even as a faint reminder, nothing. There's nothing, Gida Nosha is not even alluded to, not even referenced. The past Matan Torah, the Torah is completely Gida Nosha free. So really there's no real difference, but the reason why we chose that mitzvah was to exemplify and to show clearly how certain mitzvahs are completely out of the story, past Matan Torah, which is like weird, and then it's coming to tell me that it doesn't apply to Goyim. Bris Milah and Pru'urvu are also not really repeated, but they're mentioned. The mention is a side thing, and therefore they were not chosen as a flagship example to those kind of mitzvahs. And Baruch has a very good question or a comment. I assume.
Gida Nashi
Gida Nashe, Nashe.
Gida Nashe.
Nashe means feminine. That's something else.
Gida
Yeah, I'm listening to you.
Nashe
I'm listening to you.
Has the, it appears that there's a remez already built into the puzzle. It says Ada Yom Hazeh.
Very nice. The Torah says Ada Yom Hazeh. Ken lo yechlu b'nei Yisrael to Gida Nashe Ada Yom Hazeh. Until today, we don't need to Gida Nashe. So that is Merames that applies forever. Although some people say that Ada Yom Hazeh means still Matan Torah. There's the whole thing here which I didn't go into about Tziner, about when it was mentioned. You know that the Reishis Bar Elokim was given to Moshe in Sinai. When he was given the Ten Commandments, it was also given the whole Torah from Hashem in Sinai. So really there's a Mechloikis, that's what we keep mentioning Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda says that the Gida Nashe was commanded to Yaakov at the time of action, that morning when the sun shone upon him and he kept walking. However, other people say no, that the mitzvah was given in Sinai. And it's mentioned in context with Yaakov because that's when it's contextual. But really it was given as mitzvah and then it doesn't apply. That's why we keep mentioning Rabbi Yehuda. He's the one who believes it was commanded before Matan Torah. Ibai Sema, we'll wrap up now. There's a second answer why we chose Gida Nashe over the other things. Ibai Sema, Mila, Meikor LaAvram U'Dukamazale Rachmana. Mila was given to Avram to begin with. By the way, we're in the last narrow line. Nun Testament, based on the last narrow line, we're starting the first wide line. Meikor LaAvram U'Dukamazale Rachmana. The Torah, to begin with, was given to Avram himself. The Ates Brisi Tishma Atav Zarcha Charecha Ledoiroisom. Forever you and your Zaracha, your children, Atav Zarcha in Ishachrin Aloi, which means the Torah is not saying something else. Really, you know what? Really, you can say that Bris Milah was repeated. If you don't like any of the answers, you find them too wishy-washy, it's only about Shabbos, you know what? Yalla. Okay. Even if Bris Milah was mentioned again, after Matan Torah, in Tazria, and he'll tell you, so it's repeated itself twice, Loch Patli. Why? Because by Bris Milah, specifically it says, Atav Zaracha. With all the respect, Avraham Avinu wasn't just a regular Benoach. He was the forefather of the Jewish nation. If the Torah says specifically, Zaracha, it's a you and your offspring and your descendants should keep it, and others shouldn't. Right? By the way, as a side point, any moyalim out there is a question whether a Jew can actually do bris milah to a goy. Yeah, because as Atav Zaracha, don't do bris milah to other people. I spoke to a very, very fine young Gemara, a very, very nice guy in London, and he's the moyal, it's very good, and most of his clientele are Muslims. He has a lot of Muslim customers in London stand. So I'm becoming more risky as I go along. So in London stand, there are many, he's very familiar with all the Muslim population there, good friends of them, he's like their moyal. Very, very nice, already very, very, very nice person, very, very fine to eat. And I spoke to him about it, and he said the Arheteirim, he knows about it, it's a discussion in the Shulchan Aruch, but apparently, whatever, there is a way it's mutter, because they say only if you do it L'Shem religion, Mitzido, he's not doing it for religion, he's doing it stam, whatever, there is a whole discussion about it, yeah? So it's done, but it's a shaila. Because it says over here, you should have bris milah and not anybody else, only you and your descendants and not others. In any event, this is why, that's another second reason why bris milah doesn't apply to Goyim, even though it's repeated after Matan Torah. Frag the Gemara, Ela me'ata, according to that, Bnei Yishmael l'chayvu. Aha! So maybe Bnei Yishmael is also the Zerah of Avram. Any Muslims out there? So then, maybe they have a point, they do bris milah. Maybe they're right. Maybe Bnei Yishmael Zaracha. Answers the Gemara, Ki be'itzchak yikar l'chazera. Yeah, later on it says in the Torah, be'itzchak yikar l'chazera. Yeah, in other words, be'itzchak. Yeah, Yitzchak will be a real deal zera, and not Ishmael. Frag the Gemara, if so, bnei Esav l'chayvu. So Esav that came from Yitzchak should also be chayv in bris milah. That's a lot of people. Tim McKenzie and all his friends and all the Europeans and all the Americans, yeah, they should all bnei Esav should be chayv bris milah. They don't even do that, yeah. Maybe Yitzchak, well, the children of Yitzchak. Answers the Gemara, a famous line, be Yitzchak v'lo kol Yitzchak. Not Yitzchak yikar l'cha, be Yitzchak yikar l'chazera. From within Yitzchak, there's somebody who will be your zera and somebody who won't be your zera. So you look at the behavior of Yaakov and Esav, you know, it's quite easy to pick your choice, and therefore they're not chayv in bris milah. Maskis for Rav Ashi, one more line, give me one more line. Rav Ashi is now attacking and saying, Elamata b'nei Torah lo l'chayvu. Yeah. Bnei Torah there were 6 children of Avram Avinu. They were the children of Keturah. Some say Keturah was Hagar, some say it was another woman. Afterwards, he got married with Torah. He married Torah, a second wife, and they had children. And afterwards, they went to the Far East. So maybe the Bnei Torah, they themselves were chayv in bris milah. They themselves, but not their children, says Rashi. So if you're saying this, Bnei Torah themselves, those 6 children, maybe they're not the chayv in bris milah because not beyitzchak. Amar Rabbi Yosef bar Chanina v'tem Rabbi Yosef bar Chanina as brisi hefer l'rabbis Bnei Torah. Says no. It says as brisi hefer. The word es is coming to include Bnei Torah. It doesn't mean all their descendants, only them. Those 6 guys there to have bris milah, even though maybe they were older, and that's it. Nikuda. Full stop. I'm stopping here. What you're going to see tomorrow, and it's a good place to stop here, is about the whole story of Adam Arishon being vegetarian and Noach being carnivorous. Yeah, a lot of vegetarian people, they say that according to Torah, you should also be vegetarian because we have the same digestive system like the herbivorous are not carnivorous, and they're right. Why? Because Adam Arishon was really herbivorous, so that's why we were created that way. But afterwards, by Noach, things changed. Noach was a different story, and therefore Hashem then was a whole new world. Not Chas v'Shalom Hashem changed his mind. Noach was a whole new creation of the world. Noach being a new creation of the world, a whole new set of rules. There are many three very, very good logical reasons why after Noach people should be allowed to eat meat. Thank you very, very much. Rabbi Ari Waldman will take off tomorrow. One more cheer in this series. Thank you very much. Have a great day, great week, and great month. Thank you very much.
When are you coming back?